I'm Autumn Lodge Persinger. I own Ida's Cupcake Cafe. We have 3 locations, 2 here in Bend and 1 in Redmond. The one here on Division Street in Bend is our primary bakery, our main bakery. And then our Galveston store on the west side was our flagship store. The one in Redmond is more recent. We opened a month before COVID hit, so that's been an interesting challenge, but it's a great space as well. Ida's Cupcakes was started in 2008 by Ida herself. She thought it would be something fun to do in retirement, and it grew well beyond what she expected. And in 2018, she retired for real. And that is when I bought the space. It was kind of a light bulb moment for me. My background's actually in art and art history. I was a professor of art history for 5 years in Ohio before we moved to Oregon. And so I had been in the restaurant business for 13 years after moving to Oregon. And the realtor who was selling Ida's business happened to be a neighbor of mine. And one night he was talking to his wife at dinner about how he was struggling to find the right buyer. And she said, well, have you called Autumn? And so he gave me a call that night and we made an offer the next day. I had always loved to bake. I grew up next door to my grandmother and she taught me to bake when I was very, very young. And so I always loved that. I loved the artistic and creative aspect of it because of my art background. And then I had the restaurant experience as well. So it seemed like the perfect fit. So it was kind of never had thought about owning a bakery before that, but it was kind of like, wow, why didn't I think of that before now? So it was kind of a perfect moment. So my favorite thing about the business is the family-owned aspect of it. So I'm really proud of being a small business owner as a female and as a mom in particular. I have 3 children, 2 of whom work here and have been for years. The youngest has on occasion, he's still learning. But we not just have my family, but we have a number of other families as well. So we have a baker, for instance, whose daughter is our wedding coordinator. And then a lot of our employees as well grew up with my kids. I used to volunteer at my children's elementary school, and so I got to know a lot of those kids really well, and now they're in their 20s and they make great hires because I've known them their whole lives. I know their families and they make great employees. So we have a whole like interconnected family kind of atmosphere, and I think that's probably my favorite part about it is the community that we've established, and then as well the community itself being a great support. And I think that's another one of my favorite things is celebrating milestones with the community members. So a lot of times we'll do, say, a high school graduation, and then that person might come back and do their wedding some years later. And then they'll come back and do a baby shower or a gender reveal. And then we get to do their birthdays and their anniversaries. And it's really fun to get to know people and get to provide those special moments for people throughout their lives. Have you heard of Merchant Maverick? Yes. So Alina just happens to be a good friend of mine that I have known for many years. We used to work together at Marcella's restaurant out in Sun River for a long time. And yeah, I adore her. And she actually is now also married to someone that I grew up with back in Ohio. So it's a small world connection as well. Top piece of advice for small business owners just starting out, be ready to work hard. Be ready to be on call 24/7, always be available, hit the ground running, and you never know what's gonna happen. There's something every day. Something breaks, something dies, somebody calls out sick. You have to always be able to fill those spots, make things work, find a way to make it happen. And I think knowing every aspect of the business and being able to fill in wherever needed is important as well. For instance, you know, we had a baker out with COVID. I took on the baking, which I don't do on a daily basis, but certainly have learned to be capable of doing when needed. You need to be able to handle all aspects of it. My father actually would be my inspiration and my advisor. He passed away, unfortunately, just a month after I bought Ida's, which made the transition a little more difficult, I must say. But he was a elementary school teacher, and then a principal, and then superintendent of city schools, and then a business owner as well. And he taught me that you never ask someone to do something for you that you would not do for yourself, and that you need to work hard for others if you expect them to work hard for you. So those were very key pieces of advice. He also liked to say, if you can lean, you can clean. So you were not allowed to be standing still because there's always something to clean if there's nothing else to do. One of my other favorite things that I wanted to mention is creating new flavors. That's probably one of my favorite parts is the creativity behind it, getting to come up with a new flavor. You know, we have our standards, but our seasonals tend to rotate. And so we're constantly playing with flavors and coming up with new variations. I like to say that I know it's right when I can feel my grandmother smiling at me. She taught me to bake when I was little. Just the sensation that I get. My brother thinks I'm crazy, but that's okay. If it works, then it's okay. But it's totally this great feeling that I get from coming up with something new and creating something that people will enjoy. So we're using Clover right now, and it was great when we first got it. It is a very easy POS system, very easy to use, very easy to learn, and very easy to teach. I do love that aspect of it. However, our rep for Clover left right after we signed up, and we were never given a replacement. So we have no person to contact. When you call, you're put on hold, which when you're busy and your machine's not working, that doesn't really work. So we're constantly searching for alternatives for that. Same with the website. We have a very old, outdated website that Ida had started that I'm literally working in the shop 12 to 14 hours a day. During COVID, it was 18 hours a day. So that's what I mean when I say you got to be ready to hit the ground running. But that's something that I have not gotten to addressing at this point. Banking, that I do like. We use US Bank Business Services. They're right across the street from us here, which is very, very handy. There's some fantastic staff over there. They're always willing to work with you. One of the other vendors that I really like, actually showcasing another small business, we sell our cake stands from Mosser Glass, which is based in my hometown of Cambridge, Ohio. And that is a family business that has been around for generations. And I think it's really cool that they're still making these handmade glass stands. They're beautiful. And so they're also available for sale here at the store. We use them a lot for wedding setups as well and things like that. It's huge. There's a huge overlap. I feel like I didn't really lose that part of my career because I'm still teaching just completely different things. So instead of, well, actually I do kind of lecture on art history sometimes still, but teaching young people how to be in the workplace, how to have a job, how to handle money, how to deal with customers. I think that's huge and definitely a much needed skill and something that, especially post-COVID, a lot of people kind of struggle with those relations, customer relations. And so that's something that we're constantly working on. It did have 3, actually, at the time. There was a small shop in Redmond that was just a little retail location, and that space didn't really work for us location-wise, landlord-wise. And so when the lease was up, we left that location. And so then we had 2 for a little while we built the new spot downtown, which we got to build from the ground up, which was really, really nice. We're actually baking at that location now as well. So originally, she only baked from the one spot. And so now we're baking in Redmond and in Bend. Well, you never know because, like I said, we opened up literally a month before COVID hit. So you think it's the right time, but you can't control the future. So we were lucky in that we were considered essential. So we were able to be open. We had our lobbies closed and we did a lot of deliveries, a lot more deliveries. We did a lot of mail order where we were shipping around the country. We had multiple phone lines going at the locations, so that someone could call when they got there and you could run it out to them and they didn't have to come in if they weren't comfortable with it. And we had a spot set up outside of each store as well where we could set things down so you didn't have to hand it directly to people. So there was a lot of maneuvering, but we made it work. One of the nice things for us actually was that when the schools were closed, we were able to have students working, which actually made staffing easier for us during COVID because we had that access to high school and college students that weren't physically going to class and were therefore available during the hours we're open, which is more of a struggle now actually than it was then. All of it. So we're a little different than most cupcake places because it's all custom. So you pick your cake, you pick your flavors of frosting, and we frost to order. We bake them fresh every morning in 3 different sizes. So we have what we call kid cakes, which are a classic cupcake size. We have gourmets, which are twice as big as a standard cupcake. And then we have our little bite-sized minis, which are sold by the dozen. You can pick your size, you pick your cake flavor, and then you pick your frosting. We frost to order, we add the sprinkles. So it's a little unusual in that regard. We also do cakes. We do parfaits, we do our caboodles, which we were talking about, which is a parfait that's pre-made. You can order a custom parfait, cupcake frosting layered in a cup, but we also have some that we pre-make, and that's how we avoid waste. So we take the top of the cake, so when you're baking the cake, it rises above the pan, and you cut it to make it even to frost the cake. Well, that cake top, we cut up into make a caboodle so that it's not going to waste. Endurance. I would say endurance. I think it's unusual feat to be able to stay in business for that long as a small business owner with all the challenges, particularly financial challenges right now. Cost of butter is no small thing. So being able to continue producing a quality product without going up too much in price is constantly a challenge. So to maintain that, I think, would call for celebration. It varies by store. So this location is not really a walk-by kind of thing. You have to drive here. We have great parking, so it makes it a great place to pre-order and then pick up. Our Redmond store is right downtown, in the heart of downtown. That one gets a lot of walk-in traffic. So that's a great sit down and eat your cupcake and have a cup of coffee kind of place. So it varies by location. I mean, I definitely enjoy doing weddings and events. We love those. So much fun to get to know a couple and help plan their wedding and then go set it up at the actual venue and get to see everybody in their pretty clothes, and it's a lot of fun. I am mainly here. I do pop around to the different locations and we do deliver things that they might need, whether it's groceries for baking to the Redmond store that we'll take from here, or product we take over to the Galveston store where they don't bake, and orders also to be picked up at other locations that might have been made here. But primarily I'm at this location, the main location. I'm currently the only decorator, so I'm the one doing all the decorating at the moment. Not specifically, really. Right now it's a back to school time. We have quite a few students leaving for college and have started back to high school this week. So looking for some daytime people that can work during school hours specifically, which is always a challenge. I think it's crucial to have family support. I don't know how anyone would do it without their family's support. I mean, there's a reason why farmers had 12 kids, to help run the business. I'm not promoting having 12 children to help run your business. Let me get that straight. However, it does come in handy to have people that you trust, in particular, that you can rely on and trust, and they have your back when there's an emergency, in particular. Right off the bat, I mean, when I bought the place, my father was really excited he really wanted to be my delivery driver and help with the books in particular. With all of his experience running a school district and owning a business, he was going to help with the books and be the delivery driver. And so when he passed away a month after I bought the place, that was definitely hard for so many different reasons. And then my son, when he graduated high school, moved away for a while. He's back now. But he moved away for a while, and that was a tough loss as well. I mean, personal and business-wise, because he was working here. So it's hard not to sell yourself short, I find, with pricing, because you can only sell a cupcake for so much. But I find that it's, especially with the price of groceries right now, it's very hard to find that sweet spot. Sorry, where you're still profitable, or at least not losing money, but not beyond the reach of the ordinary customer. And your time's valuable too. Your time and energy and skills are valuable too. And I find that I'm constantly being told by my staff that I'm short selling myself with my decorating, that I'm not pricing it high enough. And so I think that's something that you need to learn. It's definitely a growing process. I should also give a shout out to my husband, because he's been a great supporter of the business. And he also is always there he'll be taking a wedding today. He does wedding setups. He's a graphic designer, so he has an artistic eye as well. So he does a lot of our wedding setups. He's always there when I need him to do a delivery, go get the groceries. So I definitely couldn't do it without him. To some degree, I do have an accountant that I use for payroll and such, and taxes. No, I'm a paper and pen gal. I'm a very old school. We have an app the Clover system has an app for the time cards. We did use pen and paper time cards originally, and so we got this system with the app. The app, however, is increasing in cost, and we're not really as fond of it as they want us to pay. So we're looking for an alternative for that right now. I, for a while, had a manager who made my life grand. She was one of the students that I had known as a child, and she worked for me for several years as a manager. Well, she managed multiple locations. She worked at all 3 stores. She was a baker for a while. She was a decorator for a while. She was a wedding coordinator for a while. So she knew almost as much as I do about the business. And she was absolutely fantastic. And that was, while she was here, that was the only time I ever had days off. Unfortunately for me, great for her, she has moved on. She got a job that is going to pay for her to go back to school. And I can't really compete with that. So it's been a kind of a rough summer because summer's our busiest time. Most of the weddings in the summer. Yeah. Hence the 12 to 14 hour days, 7 days a week. It is, I mean, we have a lot of great staff, but a lot of them are in school, whether it's high school or college. And so their availability does not really lend itself towards being here full time. Our head baker right now, Morgan, she is also one of the students that I knew as a child, who's now 25. She's fantastic, and she's really been helping kind of take care of things behind the scenes, but she doesn't have as much of the experience up front as Emily did. So she's not able to pick up, say, the deco or although she's baking, so we're happy that we're not here doing that as well as everything else. Well, and there's so many ins and outs and little details. Like Emily as a manager worked out great because she'd already worked here for years and had worked in every department. And so, you know, the best way I feel to get a good manager is for someone to do that, to kind of cross-train, to learn all the ins and outs, to know every location and every department. And then that makes you able to answer anybody's questions and to help in anywhere that it's needed, same as I do. And yeah, so that's really hard to maintain, but that's definitely the goal. And we've been very fortunate. A lot of our students that have standing there watching. A lot of our students that have gone off to college, that have left, they come back. They come back on vacations whenever they're in town. First gal that I hired, Malia, she was just 14 when she started here. Now she's a student at Cal Poly. She's in town. Whenever she's in town, she gives me a call and says, these are the days I'm available, and we plug her in because she's great. We do get a lot of reward from that too, watching them grow up and come back, and it's a lot of fun. More hours in the day. I think I just don't ever have enough time to do all the things I want to do. Like I'm constantly thinking of ways that we could grow the business, new ideas that I would love to implement. I would love to do a new website. I just never seem to find the time because I'm so much in the shop doing the day-to-day, decorating the cakes themselves, etc., that I never get to all of that. Cloning myself, that would be another good one. I don't think my daughter would like that so much though if there were 2 of me. One of the other things that we're most proud of is our gluten-free and vegan options. So we make our own gluten-free flour mix from scratch, and it so closely mimics regular cupcakes that most people can't tell the difference. So we have a lot of gluten-free brides, for instance, who will get their entire wedding done as gluten-free and then only tell the people that need to know, and no one ever knows. And so we're really proud of that aspect, creating new flavors with that and new products with that, and kind of having those alternatives for people that can't enjoy a quote-unquote normal cupcake. I've had a lot of gluten-free products that taste like sawdust, so it was really important to me to not do that here. The one thing, I put my foot down at sugar-free though. We get asked for sugar-free a lot, and I absolutely refuse. I absolutely refuse. If you need a sugar-free cupcake, you shouldn't have a cupcake.
Yes. Amen.